see here. Okay, it seems to be
So
recording now.
starting.
All right. So Todd, thanks for agreeing to sit with us and to answer some questions. Just to kind of let you know what the tone is for the interview. This is purely a fact-finding interview. We're just basically going to be asking you for some key facts based on the response petition. We'll probably ask you for some insight into your thoughts as to why certain actions were taken, but that's purely what this interview is. It's not going to be a cross-examination or anything along those lines. I guess based on what Matt says, I will. Hey, Darian.
Sorry for the delay. I had a minor accident with a feline and I had to bandage a big cut.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, hope it's all handled.
It's fine. It was just I brought a fan into my office because it got to be like 90 degrees here yesterday, and I went on the balcony to blow it out with canned air, and it startled the cat, and the cat went crazy. And you mock my pain, sir. Just remember, you're being questioned momentarily.
Yeah, I was just about to delve into my questions, unless Darian, you'd like to lead off with some questions.
I don't right now.
No, right now. Okay. All right. So you'll have to forgive me, Todd. I went through the response petition and just kind of marked places where I wanted to ask people such and such. I've been very busy today, so I've just kind of commingled those together. So we're going to be sporadically going from topic to topic. So my apologies about that. So first question I had is, at the time that you were elected as precinct committeeman, was there a chairperson for the Bannock County Central Committee?
When I was elected, yeah, there was no previous Bannock County Central Committee.
Okay.
So yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just going to type my notes in here for your answers.
No problem. And yeah, I have some notes I might want to reference if you want specific citations and stuff, because I don't know all the. I mean, I'm learning quick, but this is new to me, the bylaw or the statutes and bylaws. So,
okay, no worries. Let's see here. You're in legislative district number 28, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When you were elected as precinct committeeman, was there a legislative district number 28 central committee?
No.
No. Okay.
I mean, you guys could correct me, but as far as I know, there has never been within Idaho a precinct committeeman.
Well, as far as I know, too, as far as elected precinct committeemen, you are the first one since August 2020. As far as I know, there were no elected precinct committeemen between May 2020 and May 2022. Okay, so my second question, we're going to shift over to some of the allegations from Jennifer's response. She states on page 8 that you have not attempted to contact the executive board in an effort, quote, in an effort to participate in the process of building out the state central committee or air grievances to the process. On page 11, she states that you have been included in the Libertarian Party of Idaho's executive board efforts to organize the state central committee, but have chosen not to coordinate or communicate regarding these efforts. On page 11, she states that you have made no attempt to work with the executive board or membership body to issue grievances regarding the reversion of the executive board. Have you been in contact with them about any of the problems delivered in the petition, or is she more or less right in those allegations?
So, I think backing up a little bit to get the full perspective, it was their lack of communication that really kind of threw me into, well, I got to do something, because they just basically ignored the convention, all the people that went to the convention from Northern Idaho, from Western Idaho, spent a day there, and then they just threw that out, and with no communication. So, I started hearing about, emails not working. And so communication, and then I heard about the meeting. Were you a delegate, a national delegate? Timothy?
No, I was not.
No. So I heard about what happened at the national convention and inviting Robert to elect a chair, and then he didn't show up. And at a board meeting, is this correct? He basically acted like he didn't see the email, which was just really strange. So that's where, okay, so now I got elected. I am state central committee, started looking at the bylaws, and I'm like, well, I need to hold a meeting for the state central committee because Robert hasn't. And I need to make sure that they're invited. So, and I'm really not up to speed on parliamentary procedure. So to make sure everything was up front, I contacted an attorney who's also a parliamentarian and made sure to review what I was doing. And then I also wanted to make sure that they clearly were invited to that meeting and had the opportunity to tell their side of the story. So that's the extent of my communication. I have not tried to contact them beyond that.
Okay. Okay. And when did your meeting of the Bannock County Central Committee occur? We have a rough estimate of what day, but I'm curious as to what it's.
So I don't have the exact date, but I can look at my email and my minutes. Trying to follow the statutes, the way I interpreted them, I had 10 days after the election to have those the legislative district central committee meeting and the county central committee meeting. So I wanted to make sure to follow that. So what was the date? 17th of May?
17th was the day of the primary, yeah.
So it'd be somewhere like the 20, I think it was somewhere like the 24th when I had those first meetings.
Okay.
And was there another part of your question?
I mean,
so the point was I wanted to have those meetings with enough time to meet that requirement as I interpreted the bylaws for the requirement within that, I think it's 10 days to get those sent out to the executive board.
Okay. All right.
There's that bylaws. Maybe I have a mix, but.
That's all right. Did you have the legislative district central committee meeting that day too, or was that on another day?
I had them both that same day.
Okay. Okay. And who attended both meetings?
So I just attended the legislative district, which, so where I was chair. And then I had my wife attend the county central committee meeting, and I have those minutes. I don't know if you have those. I don't know if they're in what I sent to the JC, but I have those available. I can forward them to you.
Okay, that'd be great. So I guess I'm a little confused. Matt, did I understand correctly that you attended one of those meetings? Or am I misunderstanding?
I chaired the state central committee meeting at Todd's request.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I think your question was about the legislative district and county.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. And those were the two I'm talking about.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. So, Matt, and those minutes are also available.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, send those meeting minutes over, that'd be great. So next question for me is, did review the letter you submitted from Echo Hawk and Olson. I just wanted to clarify, are you in complete agreement with their legal analysis, or are there any points in the letter that you disagree with?
Yes. I mean, they're the experts. I mean, like that memorandum that I sent, you know, basically it confirmed, which started this, that convention was valid. And I firmly believe that.
Okay.
You know, also, I just want to clarify. So in the county central committee meeting, Amber was a participant, not a voting member.
Okay, and the county one.
Just to be clear. Okay. Yeah. And then, yes, it confirmed what I assumed, that the convention was appropriate, was valid. And
okay. Okay, so wanted to get your opinion. Since a large part of the petition, the response seems to be centered around the composition of the state central committee, I wanted to get your opinion as to what offices and persons comprise the state central committee prior to and after the convention.
okay, so here's where I'm going to refer to some statutes that I'm going by as I interpret them.
Okay.
Idaho Statute 34504.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at my notes. So basically, the state central committee shall consist of the legislative district chairman, all county central committee chairman, and all state committee men and state committee women selected by the county central committee.
Okay.
And then also, you know, so specifically on that, I looked at the LPID bylaws, Article 7, Section 1 and 2, about what makeup is the central committee, and specifically that state law that says shall consist of is really the thing, which is what Donald in that legal memorandum pointed out on how the state central committee is set up. So my interpretation is that the officers of the LPID are non-voting members.
Okay.
If I have that phrasing right. And then I am a voting member, and then my wife, who is a state precinct committee woman.
Okay, so let me think. Just so many questions about who's who anymore. But basically, right now, you would say that the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, the treasurer are all non-voting members of the state central committee. But the only voting members of the state central committee would be those under those offices explicitly listed under Idaho Code 34504.
Right. Including my wife, who was the state precinct committee woman.
Okay. So your opinion with the state central committee right now, the voting members would consist of you and your wife?
Yes.
Okay. No other?
Not how I interpret
Okay.
I mean, it's really specific in the state law that says shall consist of.
Yeah. Yeah, I see your point on that. Okay, so next question I had was that you mentioned in point 1 of your petition that Jennifer has not been the chair since April 2nd, and the state central committee recognized that fact and forbade her from continuing to act under
Timothy, we just lost you.
Oh,
We hear you again and we see you again. Okay.
okay.
You were, yeah, mid question, we lost you.
Okay. I'll just go ahead and repeat the question then. So in point 1 of your petition, you mentioned that Jennifer has not been the chair since April 2nd, and the State Central Committee recognized that fact and forbade her from continuing to act under the title of chair. When and how did the State Central Committee forbid this?
So they were invited. I made a motion, and again, these minutes are available from Dan. They did not bother to attend to provide their side. So
Just to clarify for the record, that's Dan Carlin you're referring to?
Okay.
Secretary, right.
Dan attended.
And so we voted on that and it passed unanimously.
Okay. And this was the meeting that you were chairing, Matt?
I think it was June 20th was the day. I think that was that Monday. But I'd refer to the minutes to check.
June 20th. June 20th was the SEC meeting.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And if you could send meeting minutes on that, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah. Dan Carlin has them.
Oh, Dan has them. Maybe we'll check with him, see if we can get those. So the next question I had was in point number 2 of your petition, you state that Robert failed to provide responses to emails in a timely fashion. Do you have any records or evidence to back that other than what was sent with the petition?
Yeah, so I guess I would refer to the people that made the complaint that I heard about, specifically like John Dion, who was running for governor, was trying to get some assistance and got 0 and was pretty frustrated and communicated that. And then Adam Belknap, who was the treasurer since April 2nd, aired some frustration about lack of communication and information he needed. And then Chris Ward, who was the Region 1 rep, also was frustrated that there was a lack of communication. And also, I think in that it talks about the committees. So I was the chair of the Public Relations Committee and was getting I needed an email, a communication email to proceed. I've been asking for that for months and trying to get information on budget. In fact, I summarized and sent the notes and talked about them in a board meeting, and it was frustrating. I mean, it was much better prior to April 2nd.
Okay. So, say there was a noticeable drop off after April 2nd to communications.
Absolutely. I mean, to Jennifer's credit, she was fairly responsive to me, I thought.
Okay. But you don't have like copies of the emails you sent over that you could provide?
I don't. I guess I would ask if you guys can. So I don't have emails. I mean, these were conversations or text. So I'd prefer that you get the specifics directly from me than to try to summarize something like that.
Okay. 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 So next question I had was point 5 of your petition. You state that Jennifer has, quote, solicited members of the party to participate in an illegitimate process to try to pack the State Central Committee. Can you provide us your opinion and what the proper process is according to your opinion?
Okay, so I might have to pull up the bylaws. I mean, the bottom line is that following statutes, which I tried to do, we you know, I did the paperwork to get on the ballot. My name was on the ballot. I heard Jennifer talk about this precinct committeeman and the state central committee previous board meetings. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get more involved. So I did the paperwork, was on the ballot, and was elected with the minimum. So, you know, there is a minimum, but I don't think it's unreasonable. Anybody in the party could follow this procedure. I mean, it's really simple. There's a form, you know, and by the statutes, there's no, they wouldn't have this election in this process. Otherwise, the board could stack it with whoever they want. I don't think that's the intent of the state central committee. So I followed the statutes, followed the procedure, was elected, tried to follow the requirements for the meeting minutes and the time frame defined. There, as far as I have seen, no bylaws, no statutes that authorize the board or the officers to just decide who they want to put on the state central committee. It just makes no logical sense, and I have seen no evidence that that is even allowed. You know, and I got the email from them that said that they were doing it and looking for people to volunteer, but I was never invited to any as the state committee person. I was certainly a legitimate one, and I wasn't invited even to one of those meetings that I recall, unless I somehow missed it, which I guess is possible, but I'd have to see evidence that I missed it. So I see absolutely no evidence that they can do that. There's a process by statute, and that's what I followed.
Okay. Okay, so the next question I had was on page 4 of the response. Jennifer states that you held a meeting sometime in mid-May, and that according to the meeting minutes, the only people attending this meeting were yourself and your wife, Amber, which you confirmed. Jennifer states that Amber is not a bylaw sustaining member of the party. Is that true?
That is true. So she is a registered libertarian, but not a member of the LPID. But I see no bylaws, statutes, anything that requires that you have to be a member of the LPID. You know, I was looking at some of the you know, like 34502 talks about it, which I could read if needed. Yeah, so I guess I'd have to see some evidence that there's to that. Okay.
Okay. I guess another question I have too is how many state central committee meetings have been held since April 2nd that did not include the executive board, which was elected at the convention?
One.
Is that the June 20th one?
But I'm hesitant because I held it was clearly that state central committee meeting on June 20th. And then Jason later called a board meeting, and there was some confusion on whether this was of the board as of April 2nd, but after we went through the SEC meeting and removed Robert, it's that board. So there's some confusion on people were calling that a SCC meeting.
Okay.
So that was my hesitation. So some clarification from Dan. We need to get the meeting minutes for both.
Okay.
He sent me a draft a week ago, and that was a question that I replied to him. So we need to sort that out because it's a little confusing for people.
Okay. Was this board meeting that Jason called, was that after the 20th?
Yes.
Okay. Just going over this, see if I have any more questions.
So on that board meeting, just to clarify, yeah, everybody was invited but Robert.
Everyone was invited but Robert?
Yeah, everybody on the executive board.
Was the reason why Robert was not invited is because he had been suspended as chairman from the June 20th meeting?
Right.
Okay.
And he didn't come. Well, he wasn't invited. He wasn't there.
Okay. I think that's all I have all the questions I have for you. So Darian, Matt, if you have any questions, all yours.
I do have a question. To your best knowledge, have you followed all legal procedures, all statutes, and advice from your counsel in all the steps? Let me rephrase that question. I'm sorry. All the steps that you took in holding your meeting, were they confirmed by your legal counsel to have been legal and valid?
Yes. So in fact, again, because I am not a parliamentarian. I'm the opposite. I really wanted to. I mean, it's just really frustrating. I can't tell you how frustrating to be in this situation. But nonetheless, here we are. So I wanted to do due diligence as best I could. You know, I contacted people that have strong knowledge of this, which is where Matt comes in, and I sought counsel from an attorney who's a parliamentarian, and I typed up a script, which of course helped to make sure that I was following the procedures, and I had him review it to make sure, because if I had to wing this just off the cuff, it's difficult. I'm sure everybody is sympathetic to that. So I followed that to make sure that I crossed every T and dotted every I. So the best of my ability, I follow the statutes, and unless they conflicted the bylaws, as best I could.
Right. Yeah, I don't have any questions because I was there for half of this. So
Yeah, that was my only question, just to confirm that, to find out about the attorney sign off on that stuff. So that's all the question for me.
Right. You know, I should probably just stop talking, but you know, we were talking about Dan Carlin as a secretary, and he is, yeah, I think highly of him. He is not on one side or the other. And so we really tried to include him also so that he could say, you're off there, you're right there, or something. So, you know, I respect his opinion. So he was the previous secretary and he's the current secretary. And so through this, I know he resigned as the secretary from the what I'd call the rogue board, and he continues to work with us.
I guess a follow-up question I have, come to think of it, since there seems to be more communications with Echohawk and Olson, did you ever ask for their opinion as to who exactly the officers are of the State Central Committee and how they obtain their offices?
So I just want to make sure I understand. So how, well, because the bylaws, is that right, indicate who the executive or the officers are of the State Central Committee.
Mhm.
And I think it's pretty clear by the bylaws that they are officers, but non-voting members.
Okay, but did you broach this topic
Oh,
with
did
Hawk and
I?
Olson?
I did not specifically. I don't know if he touched on that in that legal memorandum that you'd have.
Yeah, the memorandum, he talked about whether the convention was called to order or not, but he really didn't go into
Okay.
an analysis as to what the composition of the State Central Committee was.
I don't know that. I can't say for certainty, but I don't know that I confirmed that with him or got his opinion on that.
Okay.
That one seems pretty clear to me.
Okay.
In reading the statutes. I mean, I could have, in a conversation with him, I could have bounced it off him, but I don't recall.
Okay.
But that seems pretty clear.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, I guess if there are no further questions from the committee, Todd, appreciate you sitting and answering our questions, making the time for it. And we'll keep you in the loop according to our committee rules and wish you the best of nights.
Okay. Well, thanks. And if you need something else, let me know.
Yep, do that. Thank you.
Thanks,
Matt
Todd.
and Darian, did you want to meet on here or on Discord to have a little bit of a powwow?
I'm pretty neutral. Don't particularly care. We're already in this room, so.
I would say go to Discord just because I like it better, but.
Okay, would you initiate a meeting in Discord? Because I still don't know how to do that, or I'm not even sure if I have permissions to do that.
You just hop in the voice channel.
You should just be able to jump in the voice channel, the committee business one.